Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Grindhouse Gutter here on the All American Spook Show YouTube channel. I'm Josh. I'm joined here with Professor Smoak.
What's up?
Will and Donnie couldn't be with us, but we are all from the All American Spook Show podcast, and we have new episodes that come out every Monday at 6 p.m. wherever you get your favorite podcast, or right here on the YouTube channel. And we encourage you to go hit the subscribe button link down there and hit the bell to be notified whenever we have new videos and various live streams and stuff we do here for the channel. So for the latest Grindhouse Gutter, Professor, what are you bringing for us this week?
Well, this is our third episode, and if you recall, the first episode it was a horror one, right? So the second episode was kung fu, and so for the third episode, I figured we kind of have for those who haven't seen any of these episodes yet, we sort of have four categories of grindhouse films that we're rating and whatnot. Like I said, horror, which gets cleavers, uh, the kung fu, aka chop sake, martial arts movies, which get shurikens, and exploitation movies, which get rated in X's. Action, yes, choppas,
Yeah,
But yeah, this time around, it's going to be action. And I mean, although some of these, we're kind of splitting hairs on things because there are all kinds of subgenres of grindhouse movies, and this one falls within action being the main genre. The subgenre would be post-apocalyptic. So in 1990, The Bronx Warriors. It's an Italian movie that was made in 1982. The post-apocalyptic moniker is kind of might be a bit misleading because maybe because of the budget, whatever. It's not. Nothing's ever, I don't think, explicitly said that this is after an actual nuclear holocaust had happened or whatever. Like say the Road Warrior or something. It just happens to be it's set in the Bronx, and in the Bronx during this time period in the future, which was 1990 at the time, the Bronx is overrun totally by gangs, different types of gangs, motorcycle gangs, your roller skating gangs, even.
The Riders! The Riders!
So you got the Riders, which is led by Trash. Yeah, the roller skating gang was what called the Zombies, right? Then you had some other. I think you had the Iron Gang, which was like interpretive dance, apparently, or something. Remember those guys?
yeah. This is
Uh,
very much like the movie The Warriors,
yeah, yeah.
except
You could
except not as
they
good. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it's they combine the Warriors, Escape from New York, and the Road Warrior basically, and the New York setting, and then the fact that they kind of trying to rescue somebody, so to speak. And it's Italian, and anybody who knows anything about Italian movies from this time period, they were great at making ripoffs of popular horror of Hollywood movies, cashing in on the success of the Road Warrior, Escape from New York, and the Warriors. But this one was directed by Enzo G. Castellari, produced by Fabrizio De Angelis. G. Castellari was known for not so much for his horror movies as much as for action movies. Plot wise, I mean, it's not a whole lot to know about it plot wise. Like you said, if you've seen The Warriors, Escape from New York, it's going to be some knockdown, drag out action between these gangs trying to control who's going to control New York and the Bronx. And meanwhile, there's a little subplots going on, like the love interest between Trash and the female in the movie that ends up being she's a heiress to the Manhattan Corporation, which is this big company, that arms dealer type company that her father owns.
Contact Hammer for me. Hammer?
And also you have this cop who is hired by her father to go in and like take her back, to get her back. And that character is played by Vic Morrow. He's a good badass in this movie named Hammer. Speaking of Hammer too, Fred Williamson is in this movie. Although he wasn't called the Hammer in here, he's called the Ogre, and Vic Morrow was called the Hammer.
yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, you had also another actor in here who is known to Italian audiences would be George Eastman, and he played the leader of the zombies. That guy is tall; he's super tall. And apparently, Fred Williamson's not necessarily short, but the scene where they had to fight each other, I think Fred Williamson was standing on apple crates or some kind of crates during that scene, so that he didn't look infinitesimally smaller than George Eastman. Because I mean, the guy is like, I don't know, he's probably 7 foot something. Also of note, the Hells Angels were in this movie, the New York chapter of the Hells Angels, and they also kind of provided a little bit of bodyguard type work for the director and the producers.
This is the Bronx.
The scenes that you see in this movie is what the South Bronx looked like at the time. There was a lot of debris from burned out buildings. Trash, not necessarily Trash, the actor who plays that, but actual Trash. And of course, any type of hoodlums and gang members and thugs and all that stuff. They shot it in 3 weeks and shooting it all kind of different times of day and night. Apparently, though, at night they almost had a few incidents where they had to use a generator to light scenes and all that. And there's more than a few times where they got accosted and people tried to steal their generator. And that's why he had the Hells Angels there. And the Sandy Alexander, who was the president of the Hells Angels New York chapter at the time, is in the movie as well. Also, part of the rest of it was shot after those 3 weeks. They went back to do some other pickups and things in Rome for some of the interior shots. So yeah, this movie stars Marco Di Gregorio. Well, if you look at the credits, his name is Mark Gregory.
Hi, Trash. Long time no see.
So this was another thing about Italian movies, that they tried to make their main characters, if they were Italian, they kind of anglicize the names, because at the time, a lot of foreign markets wouldn't buy the movies if it had like Italian sounding or Spanish sounding names. They would want them to sound like English American names or whatever. So a lot of times the directors or actors would change their name to an anglicized type name. So Mark Gregory is really Marco Di Gregorio. And that guy, he plays Trash in this movie. He's definitely has a certain screen presence. I mean, the guy's, I don't know how tall he is, but he's really tall. He's got a long torso, long legs, long arms, broad shoulders, and like this strut that like, I don't know how to. I don't know if that was something he did for the character Trash, or whether that was just how he walked. But
he's got like a weird, like sticking his chest out kind of strut, like
yes, shoulders back and chest out, like I don't
like Vince McMahon or something, just walking around.
They found that guy. I think it was one of the stunt people on the movie found him at the gym. Like the gym he worked out in, Marco Di Gregorio worked out in, and when they were, he was working on this film. I mean, it hadn't been cast yet. They were casting for it. And I guess he told him, hey, you should try out for this movie that I'm a stunt coordinator on. It's called 1990 The Bronx Warriors. And he did try out for it. Turns out there was like 2,000 other people who tried out for the role of Trash. As soon as he came in, and I guess, he got it pretty much automatically. And he would go on to do Escape from the Bronx, which was a sequel to this one. He did 3 movies, and this definitely fits in the Grindhouse, the Grindhouse wheelhouse. Thunder 2, and Thunder 3, but better known in America as Thunder Warrior 2, and Thunder Warrior 3. And then he did a handful of other movies, all the way up to like 1989. Then he disappeared after that from the public eye. And there was even a page called, Find Mark Gregory. So people, fans of him and everything, were out there trying to find out what happened to him and trying to contact whoever might know him, talking to Enzo G. Castellari or Fabrizio D'Angelis, the producers and stuff, and trying to find out if they knew where he was. Nobody could find him. Unfortunately, turns out, though, long story short, and we'll get into this once deeper when we do the movie on the actual podcast, but unfortunately, he had passed away in 2013. It is a fun movie. I think it's a fun, for those who like the post-apocalyptic genre and Italian cinema, then I think you'll get some enjoyment out of this movie for sure. What's
the Grindhouse gutter rating? Now, this is where we kind of throw all the Grindhouse elements together and come up with a number 0 to 10. 0 being like this is crap and you don't recommend it, and 10 being like this is creme de la creme Grindhouse drive-in material. So all that for the setup. What's the Grindhouse gutter rating for this one?
You've got post-apocalyptic theme. That's a prime Grindhouse subgenre. You have plenty of action going on in it. You have, we didn't mention this, you'll hear in some of the clips, some of the dialogue, and it might lose something in translation to where the dubbing came out funny, maybe.
Bullshit.
But some of the dialogue is definitely laughable. It's one of those, like, the movies where you could seeing it in the big, on the big screen, and like people talking back to the movie and everything. It definitely has that Grindhouse vibe of talking back to it, As far as the gore, aspect of it, it's some beheadings, right? There's some crazy off the wall stuff that just kind of pops out of nowhere. Not overly super gory, but it's got the action violence there for sure. Actually, you got the Hells Angels in there, that counts for something, right? You got Vic Morrow, which unfortunately also, before I get into the Grindhouse rating, this was his last film that he would complete before his tragic death on the set of The Twilight Zone in 1983. But yeah, going back to the Grindhouse score, I'm going to give it a 7 for the Grindhouse score. I think it's solid. Also the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. It's Walter Rosati did the soundtrack. He'd be familiar to you if you've ever seen Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. He did that soundtrack. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a 7 on the Grindhouse score.
And so, what's your chopper rating for this one then?
Chopper rating is gonna be. I think I'll give it 3.5 choppers. I think it's enjoy. It's a personal favorite of mine. I've seen it going way back to the video days. One of those earlier Italian ones that I saw. And like I said, if you see enough of these post-apocalyptic Italian flicks, this one will be up there in the upper echelon of them because some of them are really terrible.
Yeah, I'd seen this once before, and I decided to sit down and watch it again, just so it would kind of refresh my memory for this. And I won't give out my rating because I'll save that one day for if it ever hits Cult Corner or some other series that sub series that we decide to do. I'm sure we'll get to it one form or another eventually. That being said, I think it's a lot like the last Grindhouse Go that we did, Five Fingers of Death, in that it's if you kind of like these type of movies, you're gonna love this. And if you've never really dipped your toes into these types of movies, it might be a pretty decent one to kind of start off with. It's not too deep into the pool, it's kind of a reachable level of this type of stuff. So, yeah, I think. Obviously, you heard what the professor had to say there. He highly recommends it. And me personally, I recommend it myself. So we encourage you to go check out 1990, The Bronx Warriors from 1982 in the various ways that it's available out there, or go rent it or buy it. That's always an option. But what do we got coming up on the next Grindhouse, Gutter Smoke?
All right, well, the next one we might as well round out the Grindhouse genres, as we said. So we've had horror, we've had kung fu, and now we've had action, so we're going to go with exploitation, and it's going to be the Reform School Girls from 1986. That's a fun one, I think.
That's
for anybody who hasn't seen it yet,
Yeah, that's going to be another interesting one.
Yeah.
So we put out the word now, so that way if you want to go track it down and watch it, you can. We saw that it is available for purchase or to rent on YouTube and Amazon Prime. If you dig around on YouTube, there might be a copy there. I'm not going to say there is or isn't, but there might be a copy there if you want to dig around. But yeah, there are various ways to see it, but it's not like on any like your normal popular streaming services. Just as a heads up. But yeah, so there we go. That's the latest Grindhouse Gutter. So look forward to Reform School Girls here in the next couple weeks whenever that one comes out, and make sure you keep an eye out for everything that we have going on for the month of October over on the podcast. Like I said, every Monday at 6 p.m. East, new episodes come out. We've got the second annual Spook Show Awards coming up on October 3rd. We've got our 4th anniversary special on Halloween. Lots of cool stuff in between. And we're even going to be watching Halloween Ends whenever that comes out in mid-October. So lots of cool stuff coming up. Lots to announce in the coming weeks. We thank you for watching this here on the YouTube channel. Go check out all of our other videos here. We upload the podcast every week as well right here on the YouTube channel. And we encourage you to go over to patreon.com/AASpookShow and become a patron of the show, where you get every month Crapsterpiece Theater, video minisodes, including the Library of the Professor, all kinds of other cool stuff, early access to episodes. So you don't want to miss a thing in the Spook Show universe of things. So for Will and Donnie, who couldn't be with us, and Professor Smoak, I'm Josh. We're from the All American Spook Show podcast, and we'll see you next time for the next Grindhouse Gutter.
Later.